When you join, you probably got to note that we are recording. We're going to put this workshop up on our website after it's done so that folks who weren't able to make it can see it. And if you want to revisit it, it'll be there for you as well. All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Community Engagement Institute Spring 2023 Rising to the Challenge Workshop Series. If we haven't met before, my name is Zane May. I work in organizational development at the Institute. And if you're interested in learning more about our work at CEI, you can find us online. But in addition to that, we'd really enjoy connecting through a conversation with you. So please reach out to us by email, or if you'd like to go out for coffee or anything, we'd love to tell you about the work we do and get to know who you are. I'm joined today by Patricia Houston, who's going to lead us through our third workshop of the series. Patricia is going to talk to us about workplace belonging today. This is the third part in a 6-part workshop series that as a whole is focused on ways that we can take care of ourselves and be better prepared to navigate challenges with resilience and intention. The next workshops that we're going to have will be on Wednesdays each week at this time from 11 to noon, with the last workshop being held on April 26th. So if you have any technical issues during this meeting, please feel free to message me in the chat, or I'll put my email address in the chat after I introduce Patricia, and you can email me a message and I'll try to help you resolve any issues. So we have about 1 hour together here today. So I want to hand it over to Patricia to give her all the time that she can have to lead us through this workshop. Patricia, I'll let you take it away.
Good morning, everybody. I see some familiar names in there and in the chat, and I am excited about this opportunity to greet you and come before you and just talk a little bit about workplace belonging. I am the director of organizational culture here at we use acronyms, but Wichita State University Community Engagement Institute. And my role here is to really help enhance the culture and to help us connect to our values, to our beliefs, and to our traditions of our organization, and work to help our employees feel that this is a place that connects to their beliefs, their values, and it is a place that they desire to work. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about that in my introduction of this workshop. I'm going to talk a little bit about the new workforce that's coming forth, because we have to be able to adapt in our new environment, just like we're adapting now doing this virtual world. Would usually be in person or that way, but with COVID, it taught us that we could do this work and that we can do meaningful work from wherever we are in the world. And so looking at being adaptable and looking at being able to create a workplace where people feel like they belong. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. I am going to talk about workplace belonging, and just wanted to share a little bit about the meaning of workplace. Workplace used to mean that virtual space, or that's not virtual, but it can be virtual space, but that building, that place in which we work. Workplace belonging is vital to performance, is innovation, retention. It starts with a commitment. So for us to have a place for a workplace, when people think about creating an organization, most of the time they think about where we're going to be at, where we're going to house at, where we're going to put people, and it's usually in that space. But the belonging part of it helps with the performance and helps with being innovative, and also with retaining our employees. The human part of this belongings part is that we desire to belong. It's a big part of who we are. And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we go in this space. I have an activity for you right after this. And so I want you, Zane is going to put a link in the chat for you, and it's going to ask you a question. And so get yourself to that Menti place, and then I'll put up the question for you. Belonging, when you think about belonging, there are several places. It used to be defined as a workplace, but now in this particular presentation, I want to define it as your work, the work you do, the people the relationships that you have, how you're managed or how you manage, and also including the environment, right? And so it's more than just, your physical space. It's more than that. It has to do with the work that you're doing, the people that you are in relationship with, the people that you are management, how management manages, and also the environment. And so some of you have already started. What do you love about your workplace? Okay. What do you love about your workplace? I love it. I'm seeing flexibility. I'm seeing knowledge, creativity. Nobody is telling me about your cubicle. Nobody is sharing about being located downtown Wichita. Nobody's saying the eating place down on the corner. Look at what's showing up in this space. People, mission, flexibility, diverse, friends. I see in the chat, friends. Having that remote work opportunity, we share a lot that COVID really brought that to the forefront in a lot of our workplaces, because a lot of us had a physical location that we had to go to every day in order to do that work, right? Co-workers, creativity, understanding, independence. But those three, that flexibility, people, mission, what do you love about your workplace? It's not about the building, but it's about the interaction that happens in the building, and it's by the work that we do. I see satisfaction, I see freedom. I see some of my colleagues, not all, some of my colleagues, good. Diverse people, the energy of the space. And so all of these things are really key things that are usually not what we measure our workplaces by. A lot of our workplaces are measured by our output of our work, how we meet our mission, how we are successful in bringing in funding, or how we utilize that funding. It's done in that way. But now we are going into an era that we need to measure our workplace belonging. We need to measure how employees are connecting with our workplace, our business, our organization, because we have this wonderful new generation that's coming forward that will not tolerate everything that some of our generations have tolerated in the past. Do you agree with that? Give me a symbol or one of those signs in your, one of those emoji things to let me know that you agree with that. This generation is not like, not like the previous generation. And even some of us now are catching on to some of the good things that they, that they are talking about, being more aware of who they are. Well, thank you for playing along with that one. Let's see. Share. So belonging is a human need. Why is it so important? It is a human need. Maslow's hierarchy of need puts belonging right in the middle of everything that is happening there. It used to be that we tout belonging with our families. We look at it as the groups that we are a part of. We looked at it as those kind of things, and work was kind of just a means in order to take care of what we needed to take care of. But work, we spend a lot of time at work. 40 hours is a lot of time in a week to spend in a place that you do not feel like you belong, that you do not feel like you're valued, that you do not feel like you are making any kind of progress or part of a great place to work, right? And so we have that within us, that we desire that belonging. We desire to be connected. We desire to be affiliated with certain things that we have value, that we value. There's so many different groups that we're a part of. We're a part of our families. We're a part of our sports teams. You know how you wear those, go Chiefs, right? We dress all in our red because we want to feel a part of that, right? We have hobbies that we have learned with the wonderful world of internet. We've learned to be able to even connect worldwide groups around our hobbies and things that we like to do. Some of us are a part of our spiritual groups. We're a part of charities, political parties, cities, countries, nationalities. So there's so many things that we belong to. When somebody asks you about yourself, there's so many things that you can connect with. And usually in that connecting, you're connecting because it's something that you value. It's something that you enjoy. It's a relation, there's some kind of relationship that is involved. Why can't we have that in the workplace? Why wouldn't we want that in our workplace? Right? And so in thinking about that workplace belonging, that's where that comes from. That's why we yearn for it, or we desire it, or we want it. What used to happen, and I was thinking, when I was thinking about doing this, I thought about how my father, who is almost 80 now, but when he was working, he worked at Southwest and Bell, which is now AT&T. But he worked, and it was probably something before Southwest and Bell too, but he worked there for 45 years. He went through layoffs, furloughs, but he worked there for 45 years, and he worked there at the same level. It was difficult for him. He's a Black man, so it was difficult for him to get any kind of promotion, any kind of anything like that. But he was okay with working there as far as we knew. He was okay because his thing as we were growing up is to get somewhere and stay. That's important for you to get somewhere and stay. So he weathered through when they had to reduce their salaries or their money because of budget. If they had to lay off because of whatever, they just took it as that's a part of what they do. This is what happens, but this is the cost of working here, right? And so in the work that he did it in cold weather, hot weather. He was that guy that was stringing the cords and stuff under the street, working under the street and over the street and doing all of that kind of stuff. So he was always outdoors, but it was having a job, and his identity was tied to Southwest and Bell. That's where I work. This is a means for me taking care of my family and doing what I need to do. And my generation gets a job and stays on a job, right? And then here comes his daughter, his daughter who tried really hard to stick to that. And so she went and she got a job at Boeing, which is now Spirit, at Boeing. And so she was thinking she was doing pretty good. She was in tall cotton. Dad was proud of her. She had a job. I was working out in the factory. And so this is what we do. And she's going to stay there forever. And so I went through the first layoff. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how you go from what you're making to $200 a week. I don't even know how you function this way, right? And so then by the third time I was laid off, I was like, oh no, this is not the life for me. I can't work like this. My dad is like, no, just stay with it. They'll call you back. You'll be fine. It'll work out all in the end. And it was like, no, I don't feel valued. I don't feel heard. I'm not understanding, how this works for me particularly, because I'm not, there's other things that I desire to do or want to do. So when you're looking at workplace belonging, it's all about your perspective and what it is that connects you to the workplace. I didn't feel connected to the work. I loved the money. The money was great, but I didn't feel like I was growing or were able to advance in the way that I desired to advance. So in that, I had a desire to belong. You have a desire to belong. Your employees or those humans that you manage, they have a desire to belong in your workplace. Don't you love when you lose your mouse? There we go. All right, belonging is a day-to-day experience. It's a day-to-day experience, and it enables a person to feel safe to bring their full and unique self to work. Unique self to work. What's the uniqueness about you? What is it that makes you you? None of us are just alike. Many times Uniformity is found in how we carry ourselves in our workplace, how we do the things that we do. Most of the time, so like in my dad's day, they were looking for uniformity. You did this work in a certain way, in a certain way to do it. And the uniformity worked because it produced what they needed for it to produce, right? And so many of us that work in our salary worlds or work in organizations where we have some ability to be able to be unique and be innovative in our thinking and be able to do that. And that if that is what helps us to belong, it fuels us. It fuels us to be able to connect to this workplace. So belonging is a day-to-day experience. So it's not just with my one-on-one once a month with you, with my human manager, or it is in my day-to-day actions of how I do my work, how I work with other people, how I work with other customers, how I do my job. Am I able to be my full and unique self? Or is there pieces of me that I have to hide because I need this job or I need to do this job? Not saying that that's always wrong, but there are some things that will cause that we're finding as we come into this age, we're finding that are not really things that we have to stick on or have that rigidness about. So belonging, are you able to show up as your unique self? What is it that you're hiding? What is it that you don't feel comfortable bringing to work? How does that affect your belonging? Things to ponder. A Great Place to Work, which is a wonderful organization out there too. I just put that, A Great Place to Work. When they did their research and they researched research what it takes for a great place to be a place to work, they found that people who enjoy coming to work, people, when they have a place that they feel like they belong, they are more likely to look forward to coming to work. How many of you, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands, but when you got up this morning, what was your feeling? Did you just roll out of bed, bounce out of bed? I am excited. I'm so excited about my work day. I did because I was coming here. So, and I love what I do. So people are looking more forward to coming to work. And so that means that they're going to show up, that there's not going to be a lot of absenteeism, that they're going to communicate, that they are looking forward to coming to work. People are more likely to say their workplace is fun, especially when there's relationships involved. Especially, so it's not about jokey, but having that relationships with your coworkers and with your, in that place. So it's a place to have fun. They're 9 times more likely to believe people are treated fairly regardless of their race. It's a great place to work when people are treated fairly. They are likely to stay with the company for a long time if they feel like they belong. The new era of our employees, this Gen Z generation, which is from 1981, they were born 1981 to 1995, they're not afraid to fail. They're not afraid to fail because they believe that failing helps them innovate. It helps them to recognize what information they need to do better. It gives them the option to be able to improve on something, to work on something, or it gives us opportunity to do something different, finding a piece that fell. I think about this, the thought of failing as being something so negative has changed with Gen Z. They are okay with that. They're okay because it can cause growth. Where many of us, like my generation or my dad's generation, it was probably a performance issue and you're going to get fired or something's going to happen. But being able to be flexible around failure and seeing it as an opportunity to do better, an opportunity to be better, an opportunity to have better. And I think about that as we are adamant about having interns and people intern in our organization, and how we give them that flexibility of being able to fail and to learn from that. And it's okay, right? It's okay to miss a step, and then we go back and talk about what could we have done different, or how could we have done this better? And they have that open mindset. They're more vocal. Would you agree? That they're more vocal, they're more in tune to their voice, they're more attuned to have an opinion about things, or have some kind of thoughts about things. And so they are not timid. They are willing to be vocal, most, and I'm going to say most because there are some that still are introverts or maybe quieter, but they're more vocal about it. And so you'll see them speaking up in team meetings and asking questions that some of us, and I think about myself, would always be quiet. I'm not going to ask that question. Somebody else has to ask that question, right? And so they're more apt to ask it and be okay with asking it. Our mindset, there's been some internal dialogue that may go in. I don't want people to think that I'm dumb, or that I don't understand, or that I don't. And so that's the inability of being able to bring my full self to an organization. They are willing to be more vocal and ask questions. If they perceive something as being wrong, they're more likely to be able to, more likely to speak out about it and ask about it. And so they're more vocal. They're very protective of their mental health. Very protective. We know that there has been a whole elevation of being able to talk about your mental health, and being able to get the services and the support that you need to be able to do those things. So they are very protective of their mental health. And so understanding that, and I've heard it more and more as we intern, you know, I need a day, I just finished with my finals and I need a break. Can I please have the afternoon off? Yes, take the afternoon off and take care of your mental health. And I think about it and I compare it to my early on working, you know, our things where we called in sick, or and we didn't talk about having mental health. It was really that I got a cold, or tummy ache, or something like that, right? Wasn't really to take care of my mind kind of day, right? So they're very protective of their mental health, and they're very open about sharing about it, talking about it, and needing it. So understanding that this new era of employees are more in tune to what they want in a workplace. They are also looking for a workplace that has the same values that they have, that they can connect to, that are doing good work, that are making a impact or a difference, or doing that kind of thing. And they want to be able to see that in their workplace. So this new era of employees are different. And if we are, as an organization, are wanting to move forward and continue to evolve, we're going to have to think about, as we design our workplaces, with the new era of employees in mind, to be able to do that. I can give an example in the culture that I am right now in CEI, as we are working to develop, continue to adapt our culture to where we're going in the future. We have hard questions that we have to ask ourselves. You know, what does it look like for our workers in their spaces? What does it look like when remote work is such a wonderful thing that is a part of it? How do we create a culture around remote workers? What does that look like? How do we, when we give that option and we are encouraging you to take mental health, thinking about your mental health and those kind of things, then what does our vacation and sick leave look like? How are we labeling that? Right? Is it just PTO, or is it you have sick leave, you have vacation? How are we communicating that it's okay to take that for that reason, or for them to utilize it how they need to utilize it, right? The other thought is, we are thinking about in our culture, we're thinking about celebrating the diversity of our employees, right? And so the shift that's happening in the world and in this place is that it's not just the main holidays that we talk about. How do we give people the ability to take the holidays that they celebrate, right? How do we look at that? And that's giving a sense of belonging, because I have the ability, if my holiday is maybe Ramadan, during Ramadan, there's special times in which we pray, or being able to do that, being able to take that and being able to utilize that time for that and not feel like it is something against me. So again, the uniqueness of your employees and thinking about that. So when you're thinking about your culture, there's so many things that is out there that you can do to help strengthen your culture. So keeping the new era employees in mind. If you have a question or anything, I am watching the chat. You are able to just tag in there if you want to tag in. Workplace belonging. Sometimes our position and our responsibilities, our position in our workplace requires a different set of looking at workplace belonging, right? And so when position responsibilities and workplace belonging, if you start as just a worker, being in tune. And so when I asked you about what do you love about your workplace, when you're in tune about what is happening in your workplace and how you connect to it, you create that sense of belonging for yourself, right? And so you have a responsibility as a worker to find that connection in that place. The new generation, they're looking for the connection even before they come into that place. So a lot of them are scouring your Facebook pages. They are looking at your website pages. They are on LinkedIn. They can go find your employees and send them notes about your workplace culture and how that looks and looking at. So they're being very careful about where they are applying for jobs. Okay, so as a worker, if you're already in a place, you have to really think about where you are in, of course, your life and what you feel, but you also have to think about not only what's good for you, but also, are you being good for the people around you? Let me let that marinate. Being good to the people that are around you. So when we talk about relationships are usually a two-way thing, right? And so if we're struggling if you have a coworker that is struggling with however, whatever they're struggling with, how do you encourage them? How do you help them? How do you make that connection? If in your work, you're seeing something that is kind of sliding, or something's happening in the job that you're doing and you don't speak up about it because you're like, they'll figure it out. We'll let the managers figure it out. We'll figure out what's going on. Testing where you are in your belonging in your workplace. Gen Z, if they were feeling dissatisfied, they would be like, okay, here's my 2 weeks deuces. I'm out of here, right? Not saying quit your jobs. Let me put that out there. Not saying quit your jobs. But I'm saying think about your role in workplace belonging, in your workplace, because workplaces are made up of people, made up of human. How are you showing up in your workplace? Human managers. Human managers, how are you managing your people? Where are you making the connections at? Where are you creating, allowing them to show up as their unique selves? Where are you giving them space to drive this work? Where are you giving them space to feel as though they belong? And I'm not talking about having a whole bunch of parties and whistles. We're going to talk about that a little later, about giving some information about ideals that are strengthening. Executive level, you looking out 5 years from now, what that looks like. If you are plotting a move for your organization, where are you moving it to? What does that space look like? What does that workspace look like? There's this, it was a show. It was a mini series. It was called WeWork, and I believe there's this place out there, but it's called WeWork. And you talk about a fun place to work. That looked like a fun place to work. It was open. It was supposed to be a shared working space. You could sit in a conference area that had really nice, like laid back chairs, really nice atmosphere. Is that where you want to go as an executive? Is that where your organization is taking you? Is that where it needs to be? So being forward thinking and thinking out about what you can do to create that kind of space and that kind of atmosphere. As an executive level, what are you emulating to your human managers in belonging? How are they feeling about belonging in this space? Is your conversations about how they're connecting with their staff, how their staff is getting feedback? We'll talk about that a little later when I bring up the things about how to strengthen your culture. How are you managing your managers that manage your humans, that manage the humans? How are you doing that? I love using human and not just people, because sometimes people can be disconnecting, but we're human beings and we want to belong and we need to belong. And work is a large part of what we do. So I want to give you some ideas about how you can strengthen your organization's culture. When you're working with your org culture, it starts in the very beginning. An org's culture is made up of its values, its beliefs, and its attitudes. It is more than just the work, but it's what we value. And values are not just values on the outside when we want customers to buy into what we're doing, but it's the values on the inside of what we value. Do we value the people that we work with? Do we value the expertise that they bring to the table? Do we value the growth and seeing the growth in the people that we work with? Do we value one another? What are our values? What do we believe? Do we believe that every person that works for us has the right to show up in their uniqueness? Do we believe that every person that works with us deserves to have honest feedback about their performance? What do we believe? What's our attitudes? Our attitudes, are they flexible, relaxed? Are they stern? What's our attitudes? They guide the organization. So they have to be in everything that we do. So from the very beginning, when we are talking about workplace belonging, it starts with the application and interview process. It starts with what we're putting out there. It starts with how we bring people into our organization. It starts from that very first email that you send saying, we want to interview you. And we provide the information and we share our values. From the first, not only are you looking for someone to fill your position, the employee is looking for some place to belong. So just like you're interviewing them, you're being interviewed. So from the very beginning, if we look at it like that, instead of they want a job, they need a job, and we got a job. And if they want this job, they're going to do this, this, and this, and this. Instead, looking at it as we want to appeal to them as well. We want here's our values. Here's what we believe. If this is what you believe, then apply for this position. If working with people and doing wonderful work in the community is a part of what you do, this is what we value, come and work for us, right? And so from that very moment of interview, that's where it starts, that connecting to belong. That introduction, how you doing, right? Clues that are picked up on by those that interview. And I learned this so part of my role is HR, so learn this from that. From the tone in your communication. when you send me when the request to interview? What's the tone? Is it just matter-of-factly? Is it just, did you put something personal on that? Well, I noticed this and we'd really like to interview you. I really like when you said this, we really like to interview you, right? Or is it just that letter that you sent out? Okay, we want you for an interview, show up this day, show up this day. The tone in your communication, they're looking at. The makeup of the team that's interviewing them. Is it diverse? Is it across different factions? Is it just the team that I'll be working with? The makeup of the team interviewing. The questions that you're asking. How the panel or the persons are dressed during the interview. Did you share with me before I came that we're casual, so just wear something casual. We're business casual. Or dress to the nines, whichever ones, dress to the nines. However, did you share that with me so that I can feel a part when I come into the room, right? Sometimes we're gonna expect them to come dressed to the nines, right? Well, this new generation, let me tell you, you will get surprised by what they wear to interview. So how do we help somebody belong? We share with them what we do in our organization. So just come dress business casual. If that's where we're expected to dress every day, come business casual, right? How the panel of persons are dressed during the interview is important. Where the interview is held, is it virtual or is it in person? Here, we like to do both. So our first one may be virtual. The next one may be in person. Why? Because it lets you know that we adapt and we have both of these things going on. And you're going to have to appear in some spaces virtual. And we need to know that you're able to click the Zoom. You're able to mute and unmute, and you're able to do those things that need to be done in that virtual space as well as in this physical space. So in person, virtual, in person, how the interviews are held. Okay, so from the very beginning, work to connect with people. Work to connect with the people that you are wanting to come and be a part of your organization. How you onboard them, how you're bringing them on board, what information you're providing for them. Here we are shifting to a more warmer touch. Yep, you get the big book with all that kind of those things in it, but we want you to chat with each and every one of them. So here we have a person that's designated. We're working on this, Zane. I know it hasn't happened yet, so this is a part of our looking forward. In each section, there's a person that's identified for this person to meet with to talk about that section so that we can answer any questions, so we can make sure we hit the high points, so we can make sure they have a personal connection with this work and feel like they belong. So we're working from that point. Some it's gone to having videos, it's gone to creating a book, it's gone to those kind of things, but it starts at the very beginning that we want you to start feeling like you belong and that you connect, and we want to get to know you and we want you to get to know us. So regular and irregular appreciation. People want to feel appreciated. They want to know that they matter. They want to know that you are seeing their work. And that goes as well as a worker to a manager. If you see your manager doing something, they need appreciation too. It's not just a one-way street. So how do you show appreciation as a worker? How do you show appreciation as a human manager? How do you show appreciation as an executive? And there is no set time that you have to show appreciation. Now, here we have regular times, which are our quarterly events that we have going on, but in between that time, being able to show appreciation for someone or empathy or friendship, or being able to do that regularly or irregularly. Communication, we have found here at Community Engagement Institute, we did some surveying of our staff and talked about it. And communication is a big one. It's huge. The ability of not being able to, I see you, Alex, I'll come back. Not being able to give feedback about things. They feel like they're talked at, they're told this, do that, but not really able to give feedback about the programs and projects that they work on or some of the things that are happening in the organization. And so creating that feedback loop to where they can give information and receive information back is so important. And it's not just in a survey. There's so many different ways. The first question during your staff meeting gives you feedback. If you look at the different places where you can put opportunities for them to give feedback, your one-on-ones is opportunity to give feedback. Having a place where you have anonymous feedback, which will give you honest information about how your organization is doing. It is imperative that you put some effort in that place. Alex, you said, what do you do for your quarterly appreciation events? One of the things that we're working on here this year has been all about connecting us to our values. And so we began the first of the year. Zane, did that make you tired? We began the first of the year with a kickoff. Our theme is the power of us, right? And so we began at the beginning of the year with a kickoff. Everybody got the book from the KLC, Kansas Leadership Center, of when everybody can lead, and when everybody leads, tough issues are solved. And so everybody got that book, and so that was an appreciation. And then they all got a handwritten notes from their managers about their whatever they saw in their performance. So they got that. The other thing that we're doing this month is volunteer month, and we're going out because we value community and we value us working together as our work community. We're going out into the community and doing some volunteer work. So there have been appreciation events around that, around activities that we're doing together to build our relationships. That's what we are concentrating on this year. Other ways in which we show appreciation, we have the power of us thank you notes. There are opportunities for people to give praise. In our staff meetings, we allow people to give shout outs to people that they want to give shout outs to. But our quarterly appreciations, usually there is some kind of free food, there's some kind of gift, there's some kind of motivation of appreciation. All right. Yes, we have kudos in our office meeting. Anybody else have any ideas of how you celebrate, appreciate? It's wonderful. Food is always, I know. But if you work for the state, they're a little sticky about that food and who's paying for that food. Thank you, board. Yes. Bravos. Love it. One of the other things is a little thing that we're trying to do better at CEI. When our staff do things outside of work that are phenomenal, we try to mention it inside work. So some of you may be friends with people on Facebook. You may be, LinkedIn is one of those sources too, where you can find out what they're doing or what they're a part of. And when you're interested in what they're interested in, people feel like they belong. They feel like they're a part of your workplace. The other, connecting your values, which is what's big for us this year, because one of the things that was expressed was that, we're good at valuing our customers and putting values out there, but we don't show those same values within the organization. So we have to be able to tell the story within the organization, make that connection in the organization to what we value. We value growth. Then we need to be allowing for growth to happen in our staff and in our work that we're doing with our staff to help them feel like they belong. So making sure your values reflect what is inside, right? Game day lunch. Right. Come in your chief attire, right? I know everybody's not chiefs. I'm good. But planning those times for fellowship and the opportunity for them to, and always keep in mind, so there's some things when you're doing what you're doing, keep in mind you're people who are introverts keep in mind that you are looking and making sure that you are providing for your people who are remote, because some are still remote because of whatever reason, but making sure that they feel a part of what you're doing. So make sure you keep those in mind, that you're thinking about all staffs and all ways in which they can. So some people won't sit at the potluck, right? How about giving them a cool plate they can take back to their desk, right? Coloring book, a coloring sheet, or something that's going to connect them with the theme of what you're talking about at that potluck, right? So making sure you are accommodating all types of people in your organization, connecting your values, give space for uniqueness. It's one of the things that we struggle with the most. When we are planning things, we're planning it with certain people in mind, and usually it's the major people that we're planning for. And we forget those that may be introvert, or we forget those that may be. So like one of the things that happened to me was when I released the book out for everyone, and everyone got a copy of the book, the comment came back to me that I was exhibiting ableism. And so that meant that everybody could read, and that everybody, could really read this book, right? And it really struck me because, yes, in my mind, that is what I was thinking. And so I had to go back to the publisher and I said, listen, I want to know, one, are you going to do a book on tape? Because I need it for those that may have ADHD or the inability to really sit and read this book for over time, and they have learned to adapt in the workplace, but I'm putting out something that they're going to have to figure it out how to do in order to participate, right? So I need to give them the tools to be able to participate. So I reached out to Envision and asked them what tools do they use to help those that may have trouble with eyesight, may have trouble with, and so they gave me some online things that they can go to, and they can cut and paste the information in and it reads to them, and they're able to do that. And so they gave me some things to be able to do that, but they are also releasing an audio book. They're also releasing it in Spanish. And so I want to make sure I'm providing whatever I'm providing all the tools for people to be able to participate in. And that's their uniqueness. That's the diversity. Sometimes we see people as they are, but we don't know what struggles they may have. And so we have to meet them where their struggles are and provide what it is that they need in order to participate in what we're putting out there. What are other uniqueness things that we may need to give space for? What other uniqueness? With thank you stickers on them instead of instead of them writing that thank you note. Labeling the food with ingredients, yes. At the potluck, we did that at our last gathering in October when we did our event, because people are allergic to some things, right? Being artistic, yes. Physical handicaps, right. So having that, we have with WSU, they have there's a special fund that if people need those kind of adaptable things, that we're able to go and able to do that. But sometimes we have to make it available and make sure that we're following up and we're doing those things. Ask, yes, ask. Ask if someone needs anything rather than assuming. So this goes back to the confidential feedback, being able to give feedback. I might not want to tell you my uniqueness or what's going on with me in a team setting, right? And so being able to provide that opportunity to be able to share, even if they don't want to share who they are, even your knowledge of knowing someone on your team has this issue. And so when you're doing something broadly for a team, you are keeping that in mind, right? Love it. So giving space for uniqueness, giving space for if I need a break in the middle of the afternoon, right? Doing that, having that mental break or that mental time to be able to do that and making sure you're planning it in your time. You know, sometimes we can plan a whole day without taking a break or a good break for those. We're getting much, much better than that. So my last activity I have for you, using that same Menti, is your workplace doing enough to foster a sense of belonging? Is your workplace doing enough to create a place where it is okay to belong? An employee sense that their uniqueness is accepted and even treasured by their organization and colleagues will thrive in a workplace where they feel like they belong. Did I share the right thing? Okay, I got needs improvement. Maybe. Definitely adaptive work. Yes. Yes, you cannot, some of these things you cannot reach with technical. So one of the ways that a lot of times they try to do it is through policies and procedures, right? Trying to address these kind of things, but it's so gray in some areas that it's difficult for you to do that. And adaptive work deals with the heart and it deals with the mind, changing the mindset or changing the heart toward this kind of work and being able to do that. So if I'm used to, as a human manager, just really hammering you on your performance, not even hammering you, but just really, you need to do this, you need to do that, and you're not doing this and you're not doing that. Changing my heart perspective means that I'm gonna have to change and listen, ask open-ended questions to get some, to connect with my human that's reporting to me. And it takes a changing, an adaptive change, right? So I can't tell you, you need to ask this, this, and this, because sometimes your follow-up should be different. It shouldn't be a robot way in which to do it, right? And so sometimes we try to do it with the technical by putting in policies and procedures. And one of those things when you're dealing with equity work, in that you understand that those policies and procedures sometimes have unintended consequences. And they cause us to sometimes live in a toxic environment because we have these rules that had unintended consequences. They might have been put together for a good reason, but now we're bound by them, right? We're bound by them. So I'm seeing yes, no, maybe, the no and the maybe. So with that, I want to, let's go, provide you with a challenge. This is Rise to the Challenge. And so in this, I have shared with you a little input about the Gen Z and their thoughts about work, about failing forward, and about really wanting to be accepted for their uniqueness and really wanting to be in the place that connects to their values, that they're very vocal, that they ask questions, and that we shouldn't be offended by their questions they're asking, but sometimes it's like, just do what I say or that. But but they're very vocal. They ask questions. They want to know about the organization. They want to know the things about the organization. And so it's a challenge. But as we look forward, we need to understand that we spend a large amount of our time with working. And in doing that, we need to create a place that is open to uniqueness and is open to creating a place in our work, in our people, in our communication, in our how we do what we do, that's open to people connecting and belonging. So I have a challenge that I want to share with you before we end on today. And I hope that I said some things that encourage you or gave you some insights to workplace belonging. But I want to share a challenge with you. And the challenge, well, it's not there. The challenge on today is to work with your organization to create a place where it's okay to belong. Choose one thing that you can do to help your organization create a place where it's okay to belong. I'm gonna pop this in the chat. Thought it was in mine. Hang on just a moment here. Just one thing, just find one thing, and I encourage you to create that place where you are improving the workplace belonging in your area. Again, I'm Patricia Houston, and I work for Community Education. Thank you, Janelle. Oh, Janelle's out there. Community Engagement Institute, and there's my email. Please feel free to contact me if you need anything. I'm going to turn it back to Zane.
All right, thank you for that so much, Patricia. It was a great workshop. I am going to put a link in chat to our evaluation. We would appreciate your feedback on this short evaluation form. We really want to know how we're doing, and we're always looking at ways to improve our workshops to be more effective and engaging for you. We've also included a place on that evaluation that you can tell us about topics and trainings that might be helpful to you or your organization in the future. And in previous surveys, we had heard that self-care and navigating conflict were important topics. And so that's what helped us create this current workshop series. So it's based on the input that you're giving us. Thank you all for joining us here today. We hope that we can see you at our 4th workshop, which is next week at the same time, 11 to 12 on Wednesday. And we'll have Janelle Stang talking to us about healthy boundaries. If you have any questions about the other workshop series, or you'd like to connect for a conversation, please reach out to me or Patricia. I'll put my email in chat again, but thank you all for being here. I hope you have a good day.